Bishop.
And I'm Dr. Steph.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Our Life, Our Journey.
Our truth.
Yes, and there it is. And we're so excited to have you once again on this platform. This YouTube channel is for you. It's about us giving you the information that we believe can be a blessing to you and your family, and to all of y'all who watch every single week and who tell us that this blesses you. It blesses us to hear it. So make sure as you're watching that you comment, that you like, and that you
subscribe.
Yes.
And share with your friends.
Please do that. We want to grow this platform, and you can help us do just that. Make sure you follow Dr. Steph at Dr. Steph Walker Instagram. Follow me at Joseph Walker 3 on Instagram, and of course get our merch and all of that good stuff at josephwalker3.org. Get all of our t-shirts and sweatshirts and all that good stuff there, and make sure you get our book, Becoming a Couple of Destiny. It will bless your life. So we want to make sure you get all that. We believe it'll be just good for you as we continue to pour into your life. Thank you so much. Now today, I'm going to talk about something that I know each one of us cares about, and it's about how do we build a financial legacy. Now, disclaimer up front, we're not financial advisors, and so what we're giving is only our perspectives and only our experiences.
Practices that we do and we use in our own respective lives.
Highly advise
you. Work.
Get a financial advisor, someone who is is licensed in this area, but
and who can speak to your specific situation and what your goals are and help you get there.
Absolutely. So after saying that, we want to just kind of lean in on this and what it means to have a legacy, because one of the things that I have seen, and I'll speak specifically to a lot of Jewish communities, is that they have really locked in on legacy. If you notice that they think generationally. In their businesses, Bernstein and Sons, they build communities, and they're always thinking about legacy. It comes out of that biblical principle of Joseph and how Joseph was building a legacy for generations to come. So I believe whatever community you come from, you're watching this, it's important that you don't be the first one to come into blessing and then the generations behind you squander it, or you don't do the things that are necessary to even build a legacy, to leave anything.
Pass to that generation.
Yeah. The worst thing ever is, you to pass away and all you have to pass down to your children are a bunch of Gucci belts and red bottom shoes. What are they gonna do with that, right? So what you wanna do is make certain that you're making sound investments and you're doing the right things in terms of positioning yourself for the future. And I think where it starts, let's just go and put it out there. Where it starts is how you view the blessing. How do you view money? Is it something to spend or is it something to save? And oftentimes with this world we live in, this life of comparative living, we're often, victims of getting over our head in debt, trying to impress people. And that debt trap is what I think stifles our ability to really build legacy.
Yeah.
And it really starts, it targets us when we're like in college. It targets young people when they're in that age group, right? Because,
hey. That's when you start getting these credit cards
for a t-shirt.
Sign up notices and all that.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
Yeah, because the debt trap, can set you back years in terms of really understanding your financial future. Now, when you're young, it doesn't seem that way. You feel like I have access to this and whatever, but you don't realize it's like you give me, I give you $100 and you're gonna pay me back $300. Just think about it like that. I'm gonna give you $100, but you're gonna pay me back $300.
Well, I think that we can pause there because I think there's a responsible way to do it, because you do need to figure out how to build credit, like build a good history of credit is what I'm referring to, not dig a hole and create debt to pay back, right? And so being able to identify a credit card that has a low interest rate, but being mindful that your goal is never to use that interest rate. Your goal is to be able to only purchase things that you can actually purchase in life in cash, but you're using the credit card as a bridge to build your credit. So if you want to buy a pair of shoes, do you have the cash to pay for those shoes? Well, if so, then you put it on the credit card, then you immediately pay it off, showing your, the creditors that you have, really great character,
Yeah, you're
right?
responsible. Yeah.
That you're responsible, and then you do it over and over again, always paying your credit cards off at the end of the month, or immediately, or what have you. And then it shows the use of credit, the paying off of credit, but you're being a good steward. So you're using it not because you have to use it,
Good.
but because you recognize the importance of building a positive credit history for yourself.
And that's so important, right?
Yeah.
The responsible use of credit is always important. It is
Mm-hmm.
always, something that you should take into consideration. But I'm saying do not go into the credit game trying to buy things you cannot
Not
afford in your
afford.
real life. That
It
is just the
defeats the
worst
purpose.
thing ever,
Yeah.
right?
Digs
Because
a hole.
you dig a hole that it's hard to come out of. I think
Mm-hmm.
the other thing that's important too when you're building a financial legacy is to think about craft a plan about
Yeah.
where you want to be in the next 5, 10, 15, or 20 years. You have to think futuristically, and doing that allows you to not be a victim of immediate gratification.
Yeah.
Because that idea of I gotta have it now, people selling you stuff quickly. This is the last spell. It won't be here after this week, and then you look back and you bought it, and the thing's still on sale 2 weeks later,
Yeah.
right? Because their objective is to sell to you quick. You have to think about what are my long-term goals, what are my short-term goals, and I always tell people, try to get your debt under control first. Pay the debt off. Pay the smallest credit card off first. Tackle the next one. Get the debt out the way. Start attacking the debt so you can begin to build net worth. I want you to really hear this word, net worth. Because one of the things that we read in our book club was a book I would recommend to anybody, The Millionaire Next Door.
Mm-hmm. Great book. Yeah.
It's a great book,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes we think that having, high income is where wealth is. It isn't. It's about net worth. It's about building that. It's about understanding how to properly use credit, how to invest my money, build assets, how to make certain I'm positioning myself to purchase, watch this, appreciating assets more than I do depreciating assets.
And what he means by having a high income does not equal sort of building a legacy or, building an amazing financial future, is because frequently, especially in our communities, our expenses will always rise to the level of our incomes.
Man,
Like that is something that as a community we really need to fix and to pay close attention to. Like what I was taught growing up is when your salary rises, you still live like you were receiving
Yep.
the previous level
Yep.
salary. Act like you didn't get it so that you can use that to build your cushion and build your investments and build towards the future, right? Because once you start living that certain lifestyle and you keep climbing that sort of lifestyle sort of mountain, it's hard to go backwards. So for a couple of years, don't go forward. Stay where you are. Continue to be comfortable. You were comfortable yesterday. Why aren't you comfortable tomorrow, right? Like
Right.
stay where you are and pretend like you didn't get it. Use that extra money, those finances
That's right.
to find investments,
That's
to,
right.
talk to your financial advisor and figure out what you need to do with that in order to get to your next level. And then maybe in 3 to 5 years, maybe in 2 to 3 years, whatever that case is, you'll be able to do those things that you want to do because you didn't just spend willy-nilly. Because frequently what we find is that when you start spending according to what you're making, you end up still, there are a lot of people who make a lot of money who still live check to check.
Yeah.
Real talk.
I've seen it because
Yeah.
their debt ratios are off. They owe everybody. And it's right. Some people think, well, if I had more money, I could do, my problems will be solved. But if you don't train your mind and your spirit around that, your expenses will rise to the level of your income. That's absolutely right. Which means act your wage.
Yeah. Or I would say act below your wage.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
some of the wealthiest people that we know, you would never know that they
Never
have
know
money,
it.
right?
Never know it.
Because they're walking around with Levi's and T-shirts from freaking Banana Republic as opposed to Louis Vuitton, or they're walking around in like, regular everyday tennis shoes as opposed to expensive, extravagant labels or what have
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
They're not driving necessarily Bentleys or, whatever the most expensive car of the day is. They're driving their little Honda, their little Chevy truck or what have you. but they have a private plane.
Private plane.
They have vacation
Vacation
homes,
homes. Right.
right?
They have
Because
assets.
because they are really focused on not trying to impress people. They're focused on building significant assets that they can pass down to the next generation. And so just as a community, we really need to focus on like figuring out where our priorities should lie.
That's so true. And I think it's important. That's why we talk about getting a financial advisor to help you understand the market, help you understand that taking your money and putting your money in a savings account is not going to help. Now, that's not the percentage on a savings account is less than 1%. You got to put your money to work. You got to make your money work for you. And a part of understanding the stock market and mutual funds, I'm not here to explain it to you. I'm here to tell you, talk to a financial advisor. Let them explain to you how these things work. What I will explain to you, though, is how interest works. And how interest works is to understand the principle of Rule 72. Write this down. Rule 72. Rule 72 says if you take the interest on the amount of money, right? The amount of money that you have. For example, if you took $1,000 and if $1,000 was in a product that yielded 10%, what you do is you divide the percentage into 72, and it will tell you how many years that $1,000 would double without you doing anything.
How long it will take for it to double.
Essentially, I used $1,000 because it's easy to understand the math. If I put $1,000 into a product and I did nothing else, didn't deposit anything else, I left it there. And if Rule 72 is in order, and it will be, if that yielded 10%, now that's aggressive, but if it yielded 10%, that means in 7.2 years, that $1,000 would be $2,000 just sitting there. Now imagine this. If you did that and you kept adding to the 1,000, that's called compound interest. And you kept adding and adding. Imagine what that $1,000 investment would be. That's when you hear those stories about somebody that went in on Google at,
99 cents, right?
and now, they're billionaires because they let their money work for you. So it's important that you understand that, and the financial advisor can help you. But building a legacy is about what are you going to leave your kids? How do you set your kids up for success? I think it has a lot to do with financial literacy, educating your children about money. Don't assume your kids don't want to know. Educate your kids about money. Develop a savings account for your kids, showing them how to save their allowances, showing them this belongs to God. This is what you save. This is the money you have. We teach our kids, how much money you got? You want to do what? And they'll go in there and start counting their money. That is important because you want to develop an understanding of money at a young age. And financial literacy, I think, is a huge part of that, right? And so I think that's a huge part. I think also making certain that you're setting your kids up. Legacy is about, when I think about my kids going to college, am I setting up college funds? Am I setting these things up so my kids won't have to lean on loans and lean on all this stuff? How my kid gonna pay a balance? You think about that at an early age. That cost is minimal. By the time that child is, you're talking about 20 years of investing, you'd be amazed at what that would do for your children when they got ready to go to college in 17 years or so, 18 years. So think about ways in which there are all kinds of plans out there and that could help you save for your children and that.
A little bit at a time.
Yes. Let me just say this, and we'll say this together. Y'all need to get some insurance.
Oh, gosh. Yes.
I'm at a point, I almost feel like I should even marry people unless they can show verification that they got insurance. Why are you going to bring somebody in your life? You don't even have life insurance.
Yeah.
That's a shame. If you love me that much, you should at least have life insurance, right? And I think it's important because you have to think about legacy. Like life insurance leaves legacy. You're not going to be here forever, and you never know what might happen. You want something to happen in your family, like, what are we going to do? How are we going to make it? You want to make certain that you have insurance. Life insurance is different than burial insurance.
That's what I was just going to say.
Y'all better be careful out here.
Yeah, because in our communities, sometimes we will frequently, and I think it's historical too.
Yeah.
We frequently leaned on making sure that we have burial insurance. And that's been for generations and generations. Nowadays, And even then it was important, but now so more than ever,
Yeah.
it's important that it's not just about when you die, do we have enough money to bury you? It's about when you leave this earth, and especially if you have a family, wife, kids, husband, other dependent people who
Yeah.
are depending on your income on a regular basis, like when you pass away, if God forbid something were to happen to you, would they have to move? Would they have to sell the house? Would your passing be able to pay the house off? Would your kids still be able to go to school, go to college? Like, what would happen if something were to happen to you? And that's really what it is. It's like the ultimate love, the ultimate sacrifice that you can make for your family, making sure that they are taken care of if something were to happen to you.
Yeah. And so you think of that's really legacy, right? That's when
Mhm.
you sit down. People don't like to have those conversations in our community. It seems so morbid, but you
Mhm.
got to make sure that
Yeah.
you sit down and have those conversations about insurance and
Mhm.
making sure that you have real, communication. One of the other levels of that is really estate planning. And we encourage
Mhm.
you,
Yes,
talk to an
please.
estate planning
Yes.
attorney, let them set up an estate plan because a lot of people don't have wills.
Mhm.
So you got, you accumulate this money, you die, your family fighting over because you didn't tell
And the
your money where
government
to
takes
go.
half of it
Yeah,
right off the
like
top.
you got to make
There's no,
sure
yeah.
you tell your money where you want it to go, even in
Mhm.
life and death. Your budget
Mhm.
tells your money where to go when you're
Mhm.
living. Your will tells your money where to go when you leave here.
Yeah.
Those two things are incredibly important. Legacy is so important, guys. Let me tell you, it doesn't matter how much money
Yeah.
comes to your hand. Proper stewardship
Is what
is
counts.
what counts.
Mhm.
And we'd be remiss if we didn't tell you that stewardship begins with how you honor God.
Yeah.
At the end
Yeah.
of the day, all this about investing and saving or whatever, it means nothing if you got a hole in your bag.
Yeah.
The Bible says to
Yeah.
us that
Yeah.
we should be tithers, we should be seed sowers.
Mhm.
And when you honor God with the first fruit of your increase, your barns will be filled with plenty.
Mhm.
And we've lived by this principle when
Yeah.
we were in college. We lived
Man.
by this principle, man. We have
Like
no,
even when I didn't have a job, when
yeah,
I went to Vanderbilt for undergrad, I was on a scholarship, and every time I would get once you pay all your bills to the school with your scholarship, they actually give you a check back with whatever residuals, so that those are, for your regular everyday living expenses like food, groceries, like whatever you want to use that money for, but usually responsibly, right? Like I didn't have a job, so I would literally tithe off of the check that they would give me
yeah,
when I had very little to nothing.
yeah.
And every Sunday I was giving from whatever was left in my account. I would think, okay, well, what can I, give to God first before I move on with my week? Every week when I had little to nothing. And when you give the way that you're supposed to give, you're giving in faith.
That's it.
And I truly believe that's why we are reaping in this season. He would do the same thing. Like you reap what you
Every,
sow,
yeah.
right? If God can trust you with little, then he can trust you with much. Why is he going to give you more if he can't even trust you to be a giver or a seed sower when you have little?
If you're faithful over a few things,
Yeah, God will
he'll
make
make
you
you ruler
ruler over
over much.
much. Yeah.
So don't miss it. Don't miss this idea of tithing. Don't let people talk you out of it. Tithe, y'all. Give your
And don't
offering.
think that your giving is insignificant, because you're not giving because you're giving to a person. You're not giving because
That's
you're
right.
giving to that entity. You're giving because you're sacrificing, you're giving to God. This is your love language back to God, and
It's stewardship. That's
yeah,
good.
your
That's
good
so good.
stewardship,
That's
saying
good.
that I have faith to know that if I sow a seed, I will reap a reward in due time. Lord, you gave this to me. I owe this back to you as thanks for giving this to me, as your provision. You gave me a job. Thank you, Lord. You gave me tips this week at my, restaurant job. Thank you,
That's right.
Lord. You gave me, a scholarship, and this is a refund check. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Lord.
Lord. Yeah.
That's your way of saying thanks. Like there's nothing worse than someone that you do something great for and they don't turn around and thank you. How do you feel when that happens?
Yeah.
And I would argue, I mean, obviously I don't know. I mean, I'm not God, but I would argue that he would feel a similar way if you didn't say thank you for the blessings that he's bestowing on you in your life. It's really simple, and I'm a living testimony that when you reap, you
That's
sow.
good. That's
We've
good.
got so much seed in the
Oh
ground.
my God. Oh my God. And we got so much expectation in the earth,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Seed out there,
Yes.
you know a harvest is going to come.
Yes.
Let me say this finally. I think that it's important. The Bible talks about when you obey the word of the Lord. This is like, it talks about obey him, do what he tells you to do. You shall have good success. And good
Yes.
success, man, is about significance. It's about not the accumulation of tangible stuff. God doesn't mind you having all that. Congratulations. You should have a house, car, take care of your family.
Basic
All that.
expectations.
That's
Yeah.
great. But significance is good success. It's about making certain that my life mattered. I can look back
Yeah.
and say, I began the generational blessing, the inheritance ministry in my family that generations after me will never have to struggle like I did. You don't pass down a struggle, you pass down a blessing. That's what you should be able to say. I'm passing down, and not just in tangible stuff, but in knowledge, in awareness of what to do. And I think that's an incredible thing. And when you do that, you begin to realize this is what legacy is all about. What legacy will you leave? You leave one where your great grandchildren will say, it's because of my great grandfather that I was able to start this business because I had the capital to do it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of legacy you want to leave. I want you to write something down. I want you to aim at something in closing here. It comes from The Millionaire Next Door. And I want you to aim at this. I want you to write down your gross yearly salary. Go ahead, write it down on a sheet of paper. Write it down. Take time. Give you a moment. Write it down. Your gross yearly salary. You got it? And I want you to multiply it times your age. So if you're 27, if you're 25, 35, multiply your gross salary times your age. Now, I want you to divide that number by 10. And the number that you see is what your net worth right now should be. Meaning, when you take away your debts, you look at your assets, the value of equity you have in your home, you look at what's in your investments, what's in your bank account, you should be in the ballpark of that number. Now, if you're not, that means you got work to do. That means that helps you make better decisions because you want to make certain that your net worth continues to grow as you age because that's what you're going to have to live off of. And when you start adding insurances and cash value and insurances, that builds up your net worth. So think about that and find you a financial advisor. It's our hope that everybody on this platform watching us, we want you to win. Because at the end of the day, when you win, your family wins, your community wins. We all win.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for tuning in today. We hope this has blessed you. And I'm Bishop.
And I'm Dr. Steph.
Until next time, peace out.